For the first time in World Cup history, the four teams left standing going into the semifinals were the exact four teams ranked first, second, third, and fourth in the world. Then, less than 2 days later, the team sitting at number one was gone. Not on penalties, not on a bad call. Beaten clearly, by a team that has now done this to them 3 times in 3 different competitions. By the end of this video, you'll understand why France's exit wasn't bad luck, and why that same pattern might decide who actually wins this World Cup. Quick groundwork first. Once a World Cup reaches the knockout rounds, one loss ends your tournament, no matter how good you looked getting there. That's why the best team over a full season and the team that survives 4 straight do-or-die games aren't always the same team. Heading into this tournament, the 4 semi-finalists were ranked 1 through 4 in the entire world. France, Argentina, Spain, England, in that order. That has never happened before, in a tournament with 32 teams, or this one, now expanded to 48. If you've ever watched a number 1 seed lose early in March Madness, this will feel familiar. A ranking tells you how good a team has been. It doesn't play the game for them. France arrived looking untouchable, unbeaten through the group stage and the early knockout rounds, outscoring opponents by double digits along the way. Then Spain beat them 2-0 and controlled the game from start to finish. Here's what makes that more than one bad night. 2 years ago, Spain beat France in the final of the European Championship. The following year, in the Nations League semifinal, France won a wild 5-4 thriller the other way. So going into this semifinal, it was 1 win apiece, both games desperately close. This time, Spain didn't need a comeback or a stroke of luck. They shut France out completely, in the meeting that mattered most. 3 tournaments running, the same 2 teams colliding in the biggest moment available, and Spain has now won 2 of 3. That's not randomness, that's a pattern. Why does this matchup keep tilting Spain's way? France plays fast and direct, getting the ball to dangerous attackers and trusting individual brilliance to finish. It's devastating in open space. Spain does the opposite, holding the ball patiently and denying the opponent any rhythm at all. Deny a fast team room to run, and you're not just slowing them down, you're taking away the only language they speak. That approach traces back to Spain's first World Cup win in 2010, a possession-based style that changed how a generation of coaches thought about the game. This year's version carries the same philosophy through a strikingly young core, including a winger who just turned 19. France wasn't the only pre-tournament favorite to fall early. Germany lost in the knockout rounds on penalties for the first time in their World Cup history, and fired their manager days later. Brazil went out earlier than anyone there wanted to admit. Portugal ran into Spain and lost by a single late goal, months before Spain did the same thing to France. Being good for years doesn't protect you for 90 minutes against the wrong opponent. If you're enjoying finally understanding why, it's worth subscribing, since that's what this channel does. With France gone, 3 teams remain. Spain is already through. The last final spot belongs to England or Argentina, a fixture with its own history, from Maradona's Hand of God in 1986 to a red card and shootout loss 12 years later. Argentina arrives as defending champion, with Messi, at 39 and almost certainly playing his last World Cup, still doing things nobody else can. But look at how they actually got here. Extra time against a debutante nation, twice coming from behind. A 2-goal deficit against Egypt, erased in the final 10 minutes. Extra time again against Switzerland. 3 knockout games, 3 trips to extra time, Argentina chasing the game every time rather than controlling it, with a defense that's looked shaky throughout. That's a team that keeps finding a way to survive one more night. It isn't, historically, a profile built to keep surviving forever. England has had its own scares, including a manager visibly frustrated after a win, not because his team lost, but because they played worse than he knows they can. That's a very different problem than the one Argentina keeps running into. Since that rocky stretch, England has won every match, including an extra-time battle against Norway settled by a Jude Bellingham brace. Where Argentina keeps needing late rescues, England has generally been doing the controlling. That's the case for England winning this semi-final and meeting Spain in the final. If that happens, it's more than a trophy match. Spain would be chasing only its 2nd World Cup title, more than a decade after 2010. England would be chasing its first since 1966, and it would pit Spain's patient control against a version of England that's learned to be efficient under real pressure, a different puzzle than the one Spain already solved against France. Which brings this back to the idea the whole video has been building toward. Most casual fans would tell you, the best team wins the World Cup. France's exit is clear evidence that isn't quite true. Spain didn't become the better team overnight. They became the right team for this specific opponent, for the 3rd tournament running, and this time there was no late France comeback to save them. Going into the semifinals, it was easy to assume the top-ranked team would simply keep winning. What actually happened was stranger and more specific. France didn't lose to bad luck. They lost to the one opponent that's now beaten them in the biggest moment in two of their last three meetings, by taking away exactly what makes them dangerous everywhere else. If England get past Argentina, Spain won't just be defending a trophy chance, they'll be defending a pattern built specifically against teams that look unstoppable on paper. Do you think that blueprint works just as well against a patient team like England? Or does that cancel out the exact advantage that's worked against France 3 times running? I'd genuinely like to read what you think in the comments. You're welcome. Subscribe if you enjoyed this type of content. It means a lot.